Good Morning Show with Troy Torres is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good morning. Pardon what I'm wearing. I had to rush to get ready for this show today because I saw a headline. Someone sent a headline in one of my NMI chats of a newspaper that says Guam and CNMI prepare now, and I'm like, what's going on? And so I had a chat with Landon Aydlett this morning about what was Invest 92W, which apparently is Tropical Depression 17W, and a hopeful change in trajectory. We'll have Brandon Aydlett on the phone in just a couple of minutes to talk to us about this storm that is brewing somewhere near Chuk and that could have implications for us. So we'll try to clear that up with Brandon Aydlett on the other side of the commercial break. And then after that, I want to bring you the relevant portion of yesterday's Guam Education Board meeting and my utter disappointment with at least parts of the Board of Education and, of course, the Superintendent of Education here in Guam. And then the third part of this show will be a video that was created by Congressman Moylan's office about a CODEL and some very interesting issues that were brought up by Government of Guam officials during that CODEL meeting. We will get to that on the other side of the commercial break. Stick with us. Welcome back to the show. It is now 6:50 a.m. on Wednesday, August 19, 2026, earlier than we would normally start the show, and I haven't even gotten ready for the day. And that's because we have Brandon Aydlett has a very busy schedule. He has to talk to Brad Rizala over at NMI News Service at 7 a.m. So we only have him for the next few minutes. Good morning, Brandon. We saw that headline in one of the newspapers. Are we supposed to be preparing now? Guam and CNMI prepare now? What's going on?
Well, there are a couple of things. And so yesterday we were talking about Invest 92W. And until early yesterday afternoon, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center had indicated its development potential as low, meaning that tropical cyclone formation was not expected in the next couple of days, mainly because of that really asymmetric wind field, the stronger winds being just to the south side, and just a very lopsided system.
Okay.
But as new satellite data came in during the afternoon, we're seeing a more coherent, rounded circulation between and a midpoint between Chuk and Pohnpei. And so based on that presentation and short-term model guidance, they went ahead and elevated to a medium, meaning tropical cyclone formation is anticipated, but beyond 24. As things continue to develop and organize a little bit faster, they went to that tropical cyclone formation alert, and then eventually around midnight, just before midnight, they issued their first warning on Tropical Depression 17W, the 17th of this year.
Okay. And what does that mean for Guam, Rota, Tinian, and Saipan?
We've been talking about the potential of a tropical cyclone moving northwest. It was kind of in the long-range model guidance, even late last week, although there's a lot of variability. Would it go closer to Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, or stay well east of the islands? And what we've seen in the past 48 hours is that model guidance has really come into much better agreement that it kind of focuses on the far northern islands for this weekend. There's still a little bit of range and variability. We're still seeing that slow westward drift currently as of 1 a.m., 2 miles per hour westward. And that's likely going to carry us through midday today before we start seeing that anticipated northwest lift. But with all that said, the model guidance, the forecaster confidence, and the track is increasing with the full range of model guidance really centering somewhere over the northern islands.
When you say the northern islands, are we talking about Pagan or even further north?
In the Pagan vicinity, and when we look at the forecast track, it does reflect that center line is currently positioned near Pagan for middle of the weekend. But that arrow cone, that white shaded cone, is what we should really focus on. That the southern edge goes down to Saipan Tinian vicinity, and that white shaded area basically corresponds to where the center of a tropical cyclone will pass 2/3 of the time. Looking at past 5-year forecast track error, sometimes the tropical cyclone center will veer outside of that cone. We have seen that from time to time, but it gives a good idea of where that potential range of motion could go. But again, the impacts are well outside of the center in tropical cyclones. And right now we're seeing a very lopsided tropical cyclone with the stronger winds, heavier torrential rains, all in the southern periphery. And that's what's been plaguing Chuuk, Koshrai, Pohnpei for the past several days. But as we go into the future, what do we expect for the Marianas? We've got a lot of showers. We've got some thunderstorms around the islands right now this morning. It's going to be a wet start to the day, but this is not really related to Tropical Depression 17W. This is just kind of a convergent northwest flow that's feeding into the broader pattern of 17W. We probably have a couple of days of drier weather as we go into late week and maybe as late as Saturday. But by mid-weekend, Sunday, we're going to start seeing winds shift around to the southwest. And that's based on this forecast track of 17W going over the far northern Mariana Islands this weekend. For Guam, Rota, Tinian, Saipan, southwest winds picking up. Could see that increasing moisture by Sunday into early next week, especially with chop picking up on the seas.
What you're telling us about the model guidance coming into greater agreement, is this based off of the most recent model guidance? I know you guys are expecting a 7 a.m. statement. Has the data from 7 a.m. already been incorporated into what you're telling us right now?
Let me see. I've been waiting to see the latest bulletin come out of JTWC, and it looks like we have not received that just yet. But we should be receiving the information anytime now.
And is that the one? Is that the one where you're anticipating that that JTWC will show more of a northwest movement?
Well, they're already showing that,
Okay.
but even as of 1 a.m., it's still just that westward drift, at least on a short term. And I looking at the model guidance, I don't think we're going to see that definitive motion immediately. Again, we're looking at maybe this evening before we can say there's a discernible and significant northwest motion. And by significant, I want to establish that we're looking for a trend that persists for several hours. In these situations right now where a system is forming that is slowly organizing, we could see that west motion. We could see a brief northwest motion, but we want to make sure it's a trend that persists for multiple hours that would indicate that that long anticipated northwest motion that's going to take 17W closer to the Marianas.
Can we put the cone of uncertainty into the cone of possibilities, right? Into some type of layman's terms, right? There is an outside chance, though still a chance, that the center of tropical depression 17W, whatever it becomes, because I understand it's in an environment of low pressure, so it could grow into something, right? There is an outside chance that the center of it could go as south as Saipan and Tinian, and there is a greater outside, I'm sorry, there's more of an outside chance for it to go as far south as Guam. That would make it, that would go outside of the 2/3 of anticipation, right?
That is correct. And so for a Guam passage, there's not really any model guidance, even among the ensembles, that points to a Guam passage. That would be a very outside chance.
Very outside
And I would say probably one that we could toss out statistically.
Okay.
But the more reasonable outside chance, perhaps a worst case scenario, would be a passage closer to Saipan and Atahan that would bring much stronger conditions directly to Tinian and Saipan. But even that is a statistically lower opportunity. The overall guidance, the average of the models points toward the far northern Mariana Islands for the direct impacts, and then peripheral impacts for the lower Marianas from Saipan southward.
So this is why I never did any live cast or news story about 92W, because all the model guidance from the beginning of this thing, it seems to be shaping up to exactly what most of the models had been showing from the beginning, was that this was going to be a northern NMI passage, as in the sparsely inhabited islands of the CNMI, than anything that would reach Guam or Rota, or that would possibly reach Saipan or Tinian. And so when I saw the headline this morning, Guam and CNMI prepare now, I was a little freaked out. I was like, did something change with what NWS and JTWC have been saying this whole time?
Well, that's one of the big things. I think since we are in a strong El Nino pattern, we are in the wet season. That is when we see the most tropical cyclones in the Marianas. And so one of the things that we always communicate is any year you should be prepared year round. But in the wet season,
right? Standard preparation.
Absolutely. Yeah. You should always be prepared. But as we go into the wet season, as we are now, all the more so be prepared. And now that we are in that strong El Nino pattern, even more. So we have every reason going to establish the need for preparation. And in this case, it may not be critical to really be anticipating a direct hit in the lower islands.
Brandon, sorry, could you just give me a second? I need to reach over to this other phone where the stupid alarm went off. Can you hold on 1 second, okay? Because it's annoying me. Hold on.
Sounds like a wake-up alarm.
It's oh no, and now I've screwed up the camera on my, because I'm so annoyed right now by that stupid phone. Okay, so sorry. I just I just feel like we have a responsibility in the media to not sensationalize headlines like that, because I'm certain, and there's 130 people on the live stream right now, probably all flipping out about, they probably all saw the same headline and are wondering, is there some big storm coming our way in either Guam, Rota, Tinian, or Saipan because of that headline? And this is the kind of thing that we never want to stir up, right? It's a panic.
Yep.
And so thank you for providing some clarification on what's going on.
So yeah, and I guess to put it into a bottom line format, let's state the evidence. Let's state the proofs that we have on hand. We have a tropical cyclone that is just east of Chuk. That is always unnerving for people in the Marianas, rightly so.
Rightly so.
The second fact, we have a slow, near stationary system that, though it is forecast to move northwest, it all depends on when it makes that definitive turn and begins that northwest motion. If it continues to drift westward, let's say if you're moving westward at 2 miles per hour for 24 hours, that's going to be a solid 50 miles farther to the west. That kind of cuts down the curve that it gets. That northwest track's just a little bit left and a little bit southern, more south in the Marianas. That could be unnerving. That's why we always get nervous, and there's a lot of question marks when we anticipate a hard turn in a TC forecast track. And so that's why we urge caution. And right now we are still, the forecast track has a passage through the far northern islands Saturday evening, looking at the number one advisory from Joint Typhoon Warning Center. That's 10 p.m. Saturday. We've got quite a bit of time, and we do not have any tropical cyclone watches or warnings. Watches are issued at 48 hours before onset of TS winds. Warnings of 24 hours. So we are solidly within that watch. Maintain a readiness, but continue to watch, stay up to date, know where to get the latest information, know when that latest information is going to come out, and it should be out by 8 o'clock this morning within the next hour, and then following at the 2 p.m. and then 8 p.m. every 6 hours. And once we get closer, if that threat increases, especially for Guam, Rototinian, and Saipan, we're going to be communicating those trends very early on, and that way we will have plenty of time if we need to break the glass, pull the emergency alarm, and enact those preparation actions.
What two questions? What is the range of possibilities of the strength of the storm as it reaches wherever, but likely the northern islands of the CNMI? And the second question is, when today or tomorrow might we have greater certainty of that north-northwest veer that you guys are expecting?
I would expect a better sense of observing a northwest motion would be this evening, perhaps by the 8 p.m. advisory.
Okay.
We're going to be watching that closely. We got satellite data coming in, satellite-derived surface wind data around 10, 11 o'clock this morning, and then again 10, 11 o'clock this evening. So that's going to establish that trend, and that's going to be very helpful.
And that's what, to be clear, that's what would help to tell us whether Saipan and Tinian are out of the woods.
Absolutely. Well, it will give us a better indication. And because once we have that definitive motion, now we can really start narrowing that forecast track. And so that's what we need. We need model guidance is good, but confirming observational data is going to be critical to anchoring that starting point of a forecast. And so that's what we're going to be looking for as we go through today. Now, talking about intensity, most of the model guidance does show a steadily intensifying 17W, and rightly so. Joint Typhoon Warning Center is indicating a strong typhoon passing through the northern islands this weekend. Right now, the current forecast track does indicate a Category 4 typhoon of about 130 miles per hour. So that's the concern that we're facing. That is what's on the table.
So basically a Malwar type system hitting the northern islands. And to be clear, these are not there are still people who live in these islands. There's not many, but there are our brothers and sisters who do live in some of these islands.
Correct. And so for the folks out there that could be looking at more direct impacts, now's certainly the time to start considering options and at least adjusting plans accordingly. If people have any plans to head up to the northern islands this weekend, let's rethink some plans.
Yeah. And to be clear, Brandon, statistically, as of now, Guam and Rota are out of the woods.
Statistically, so yes. A direct impact is looking much less likely, though we still have that southwesterly monsoon tail to anticipate this weekend that would still bring gusty, heavier showers and some thunderstorms.
Okay. All right. And so I think the key takeaway here is nobody panic about headlines and everybody pay attention to what the National Weather Service comes out with over the next few hours. And then, of course, as the storm gets closer to our neck of the woods, right?
Absolutely. And so right now, since we do have tropical storm watches in effect for several islands across Pohnpei and Chuuk states, we are issuing our 3 hourly public advisories. And in the off hours, that will be the 5 a.m. and p.m. and the 11 a.m. and p.m. Those are more position updates versus track updates that come at 2 and 8 p.m. and a.m. So that's our cycle. We're going to be putting some of that stuff into our Facebook Live later on today. I've got to find out where to schedule a Facebook Live, but we're going to be kind of communicating that cyclically and just keep that information coming out.
Thank you for doing those, by the way. We'll share those as soon as you guys let us know.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brandon. You have a great day. God bless you, my friend.
You bet. Take care.
Bye.
Talk soon.
Okay. Okay. So don't worry. Be happy. It's, and I'm saying this because I saw a headline and even I was freaked out. I was like, did something change? Because for the past several days, the model guidance had been showing that 92W, or now Tropical Depression 17W, was making this adventure toward the northern islands of the CNMI. These are the more sparsely populated islands. They're north of Saipan and Tinian. But there is, you heard what Brandon said, Saipan and Tinian are not necessarily out of the woods right now. There is an off chance that the center of what is currently 17W, what might become a Category 4 typhoon, to be clear, 130 miles per hour. Those were the peak maximum sustained winds that Mawar had over Guam in 2023. That a storm like that, there's an off chance that the center of it could go as south as Saipan and Tinian. But that's within that cone of uncertainty or cone of possibilities. And so it becomes an off chance, but they're not out of the woods. Statistically out of the woods, though, there's still a very off chance that the storm could move this way. But statistically out of the woods are Guam and Rota. But we're still going to be getting some thunderstorms and wet weather this weekend. I can't remember if he said that was associated with 17W. I don't think he said actually, but he did make sure to tell us that in the Marianas, we are going to be getting some inclement weather this weekend. But I was just concerned about getting that information right. We're always concerned about getting weather information right, but I was particularly concerned because of the headline that said, it was just called sort of like an alarming type of headline, right? It said something like, prepare now, Guam and CNMI. I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Did something change? And so, okay. And the best takeaway here is pay attention to what the National Weather Service has to say over the next several hours. By tonight, he believes that they'll have greater confidence in what all the model guidance is focusing toward, and that is a north-northwest veer by Tropical Depression 17W as it moves throughout today, which would bring the storm, the center of the storm, closer to the northern islands, more like Pagan and those associated islands than Saipan or Tinian. We'll see. We'll see if there's anything that if there's anything that changes about this that brings something closer to Saipan or Tinian, or beats the statistics here and goes toward Guam or Rota, we'll be sure to let you know in a non-sensationalized type of way. When we come back from the other side of the commercial break, what commercial am I showing? Oh yeah, Domino's. On the other side of the commercial break, I want to bring you a portion of yesterday's Guam Education Board meeting that got lively real quick, because at least 2 Education Board members decided or are not tone deaf and understand the outrage of the public at all the scandals and the errors and the hubris of Guam Department of Education leadership, their decisions and how they've handled those decisions, whether they were even on or off island, as the fallout from those decisions were happening and affecting students, faculty, principals, and staff, and of course the general public, and how the superintendent of education, despite being called to be held accountable for her decisions, decided to blame everybody else. It was everybody else's fault but hers, according to what she's saying in response to these 2 board members calling her out. And then the chairwoman of the board, I'm very disappointed. I don't know if it's being tone deaf, but certainly not having her ear to the pulse of the community, but also, in my opinion, not doing her job to hold her hire, this is the board's hire, accountable for all of these messes that were started by the superintendent of education. To defend her and to not hold her accountable is just beyond me. We'll get to that on the other side of the commercial break. Stick with us.
delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off. Or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the report, Madam Superintendent, but I didn't hear when is Tijan and Simon Sanchez tentatively scheduled to be completed and reopened. I didn't hear anything about CIFA. I didn't hear anything about the additional classrooms that are supposed to be built up at Simon Sanchez. I didn't hear anything about what's in the budget that has been approved by the legislature, whether you got what you wanted or there's amendments in there that deals with GDOE. As I have said before, all I ask you is be transparent. And these things are very important and we don't hear it from you. And I'm just hoping we don't read it again in the paper. That who authorized CIFA to move into Chief Brody? It was supposed to be yesterday. What are we doing with Tijan High School and Southern? Yes, Southern and Simon Sanchez.
Mr. Sablan,
let me just finish the topics, then you can respond. The bus schedule. Some of the parents are saying it might as well be that they stay at JFK for double session because the kids come home at the same time from Simon Sanchez. And we hear now from other parents, kids are being released at 3 o'clock and they don't get home till 6 o'clock. One of these days, we're going to be again into a lawsuit if something, I hope it never happens, something happens to any child between ending of school and getting home. The additional classrooms, I understand that the GURA thing, I understand that the amendment to allow for that to happen was not approved, so I don't know how that's going to move forward. And then I did hear, and I know the Vice Chair mentioned this, about a budget amendment for our finance people to be under the control of DOA. I understand that amendment did not pass, but how did that all transpire? How did they even get an idea of taking our budget or our finance section and putting it under DOA? These are kind of things it's come up, but you haven't reported on it, so I'd like to hear your report on it, if you have any.
Okay, so I know you made a long list of them. I'm going to ask you if you can, one by one, ask each one of them and I'll answer them.
Tijan and
Okay.
Simon Sanchez.
Okay, and you want...
You have Cortec working there.
Okay, so what we found out was, we had a meeting Friday morning with Mr. Ho, his construction workers, his attorney, Joyce Tang, were there. Our 3 attorneys were present as well, the 2 principals of the schools, and my deputies, and some board members, a few board members.
And I was there. I excused myself because of legal counsel's advice.
So the conversation was focused on whose responsibility is it to fix Simon Sanchez. The principal from Simon Sanchez said, Tijan, I'm sorry, thank you. The principal of Tijan said that basically this problem has been going on for years and years. And that's how we started then to talk about whose responsibility it is. Many times when the request would come in, their response is, it is not their responsibility, or 2, it is not covered in the insurance, or sometimes we're told there is no insurance, especially when it comes to after the typhoon. Our guys would end up doing the work at Tijan. If they did any for the department, we would not only pay for workers, we would also pay for the materials, and above that, we would pay an additional 15% interest. So the conversation focused then with the attorney there about whose responsibilities there are. Dr. Ujoa prepared a matrix based on the contract and listed everyone's responsibilities, but she wasn't going to go with just that. A request was made then that both our attorneys and she will review the contract to delineate whose responsibilities, what their responsibilities are. In addition, what we asked Mr. Ho and his workers to do was to focus instead on the 50 demerits, because that was the main concern, is to address those that we can open. Mr. Ho said that if he has to mobilize as many people as he can, he will. So over the weekend, he did. There was 100+ workers that appeared. They were working on the air conditioning, they're working on restrooms, they're working on other electrical problems. But then there was a concern that some of these citations or the demerits were not very clear. So I asked Public Health if they could send back those inspectors, the same inspectors, to clarify to the workers what needed to be done. They were concerned that when they say that the floor tiles had a stain, he was saying that it would take about a month, or months rather, for all the classrooms to go in and change all the tiles. So that's why I asked for DH inspectors to come to clarify. Based on their report, their response, they were told that then they did not need to retile the whole classroom, but rather only to remove and replace the tiles that are stained. So that was definitely clear. So, and then there were others about the walls that are not straight, or the surface was not straight. And the clarification was that if there was a bubble, then that was what they considered, that it wasn't smooth and straight, and that needed to be scraped and painted. The other was the leaks on the roof, because as soon as an acoustic tile has a water stain, then it needed to be replaced. If they were not smooth, that they might be slightly ajar, then that we would be cited for that. We also found out is that with the air conditioning for the school, a teacher that particular day was going to be gone for the day, had turned off her aircon, and when they came in the afternoon, they noticed that the aircon wasn't on, the temperature had risen, and basically said that the aircon should be on 24/7. And then 24/7. And then in addition, they were cited because there's a room, storage rooms, where the custodians or the workers would push the cart in for storage, that the temperature and the humidity was high also, and that we needed to put air conditioning in there to definitely lower the temperature and lower the humidity. So all of those things were clarified Monday morning when they met. So now they have a better direction. And we did ask the question, what now are we looking at? We made, yes, in our conversation that we would really like to try to keep it as much as possible to about a week. I have not gotten any feedback yet. The only thing I received so far is that tomorrow morning there will be a meeting between the attorneys to address whose responsibilities they are. The concern we have, and I shared this with the senator this morning or this afternoon, was that if we are to give them the go, because Dr. Julie spoke to Mr. Kim, that he said that some of those he would consider not their responsibility. It was turned over, or rather, the excuse was that it was either abused or vandalized, and that it is not their responsibility. We would have to pay for it. They not proceed to do any work unless we put something in writing to proceed. But by doing so, I shared with the senator that by doing so, it means basically I am giving them a blank check to go ahead and do all the repairs, not knowing exactly what the cost will be. We are sending out a letter, yes, Mr. Leon Guerrero, DFAS, sending the letter out to say that to please proceed with the work that needed to be done within the limits of the contract, and then we will take it from there. So that is the latest so far that we know of when it comes to Simon Sanchez and Tejan High School.
So if the parts that Cortec is not supposedly responsible for, and we don't have it mitigated, public health is going to say that we have not met or corrected deficiencies completely.
Well,
so what is the other option?
So that's what I was telling you. Whatever is our responsibility, yes, we will do, and we are providing all of the materials. Our men are all mobilized there as well to mitigate all of those demerits. But what is the responsibility of Cortec? You're right. They would be the ones to make that determination. If they're not going to do it and are going to depend on us.
So you're saying there is no funding issue?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what they're asking us to do is to give them a blank check.
A funding issue for the things that they're not going to correct. How are you going to fund that?
I told them that when we get the billing, I'm sending it down to the legislature. By the way, at the same time, is for the Attorney General to be able to review that, because we learned on that day that the property is not really the property of Cortec.
I want to address something here real quick. I don't have to go on camera to do this because it'll be fast. It's something significant that Judy Wampat says right there, right? And you have to consider the context here. She was the one who decided to move Simon Sanchez High School to Tejan High School. And what really happened here was there were a whole bunch of classrooms that were a portion of the facility that was not being used. So because they were not in use, they were not being utilized, the landlord didn't have any responsibility over it. The landlord only has responsibility over what's being utilized. And DOE didn't tell the landlord that they were going to utilize this portion. So it created this situation where, of course, the facilities weren't safe or sanitary because they hadn't been upkept by either the landlord or by DOE, and it's because there was no contractual obligation to do so. She was the one who made this decision. She caused this problem, and if you heard what she said, if you were paying attention to what she said just right there, her solution to the problem that she created is to send the bill to the legislature, meaning to have the taxpayers pay for the problem that she created. And not once did she say she was sorry or beg for the pardon of the taxpayers for doing that to us. It's really incredible. And it's also incredible how almost every board member didn't call her out.
But that it now belongs to Phoenix IDA, a nonprofit organization, and that they have contracted CTI, Cortec, to do the maintenance of the school.
Which begs the question, did it really take pictures that our students took to go viral for our department to open their eyes and say, why is the electronic door not working? Why are there termites in the bottom of the door jamb? Why are the toilets inoperable? Why is it not flushing properly? Did it really take our students to be the one to let us know that these are problems? Remember, on August 7th, at our meeting here, 100% we are ready to open. And I specifically ask, I applaud you that you are 100% ready to open. But what if something happens along the way? What is your plan B? To this date, I have not seen a plan B. Although I was told at that very meeting that yes, we'll come up with some plan B. So now we're stuck. No plan B. Oh, kids, go pick up your food on a grab and go and pick up your assignments from different mayor's offices or wherever they're getting it at. That's just totally unacceptable, especially when the public thinks that it's this board that is not doing anything to hold you accountable for what is happening. I don't know about the other board members. I know about myself. I've been getting texts, I've been getting calls. But why is it this way? Then we have Southern High that's on the horizon. That may be the next problem. And I know our facilities people are working very, very hard to correct all these deficiencies. But when you tell me that we are 100% ready to open, and 3 days later, we get this. The school has to shut down. 2 schools have to shut down. It's not the fault of the students. And maybe it's a blessing. It's a blessing for Tijan High School that Simon Sanchez High School moved over there so that these deficiencies can come to light. Because if Simon Sanchez didn't move over there, Tijan would still be open today, operating, because public health wouldn't have come till August 21st when their sanitary permit expires and needs to be renewed.
I'm not going to
CIFA.
argue with you.
CIFA.
Wait, let's finish this. I'm not going to argue with you about the fact that, yes, now we're finding it out. I'm saying the same thing as you, that yes, now we know. And the principal.
When did you know?
The day that they were going to.
Only then, right?
Yes.
So why did you
And
say
when we
100%
said-
ready? Madam Superintendent, 100% ready.
Because we have a checklist. We have a checklist that was given to all the school principals to indicate that they are ready. We have to trust.
So
what
are
the
you holding them
principals are doing.
accountable?
We will be holding our.
Are you
people.
holding them? Not we will.
I'm going to pause it right here just for a second. So you hear what she's saying here. She's saying that this is the principal's fault. She's blaming the principal. She's talking to her boss, the Board of Education. And she's saying, this is not my fault. This is the principal's fault. What employer does that? Like, what boss does that? What boss blames their employees and not themselves for what? This is incredible to me that these members of the board, some of them, having been involved in leadership positions for years, are not calling this out. Only Angel Sablan and Maria Gutierrez called this out. Let's continue. Sorry.
Are you holding them accountable? It's already happened.
Yes.
The school shut down.
What do you want from?
Now what do I want?
I mean, you're telling me. I said yes, we are going to, and we
You
are.
said will. You should
But
already
are you
hold them
dictating
accountable.
Exactly what it is to hold.
You
them
don't even know
accountable?
when the
That's
damn
not-
school is going to open again.
Because of the work that needs to be done.
Madam
Only
Chair,
the
Madam Chair,
construction
it's just
workers can
frustration.
determine that.
I'm sorry.
Just watch the language, please.
There's nothing I said that was out of order. Okay? CIFA. We were here again on August 7th. The acting superintendent at that time reported that the guys are putting up the walls and all that because CIFA is going to move in. Not even an hour after that meeting on August 7th, breaking news. CIFA is not moving into George Washington High School. You weren't on island. You mean to tell me that in that 1 hour, all of a sudden everything's changed? Did they not know that CIFA's not going to move in? Did you not tell them, your people, your acting superintendent, stop the work because CIFA's not moving in? When did that happen? We were here on August 7th. He could have told us that no. And then at the same time, the senator says, oh, I've made a deal. They're moving into Chief Brody Elementary School. Did you make that arrangement or agreement? How can a senator say they're moving into GDOE property without you knowing?
You're right, I wasn't here, and I did not make that decision. This is the truth. My deputies went to the school. They asked the principal. The discussion has been made several times, as a matter of fact, that our schools that have vacancies, vacant classrooms, we were looking at them to rent them out, to be able to provide funding to the department to address facilities and maintenance. At GW, they have the largest number of classrooms available other than Southern High School. So the discussion took place with the principal about the possibility of them moving in and identifying with how many classrooms. The CFED indicated they would like to have 20, but 20 was not available. The principal said 20 is not available, only 16. Then my deputies asked, what about this 4 classrooms? He said, no, we can't because SPED will need them. So they bypassed that. They left it alone. Very next day, the principal called and said, I spoke to my teachers and they said, yes, we'll be willing to move, but I need for you to do this, this, and this. They were asking for all these things to be done at the school, and in addition, a request for 4 40-foot containers to put a lot of stuff that were in storage in those classrooms to secure those materials and equipment. Then our guys went to do an assessment of what it is that they would need to do to be able to procure the materials. And because while they were doing that, then of course, word came out later on saying that no, now they don't want to do this. So naturally, the next thing was then is to ask to have a meeting with the principal. Before we knew it, it was all blown out of proportion. Everyone was invited to come in. The media was invited to come in.
We weren't invited, for your information, Madam Superintendent.
I don't know who did the invitation, but the meeting was set up supposedly with DOE, and the teachers were affected, but it turned out to be.
And I say that because, again, the media, the public was saying, where is the board? Why weren't they at this meeting? We didn't know about that meeting. At least I didn't know. I don't know about the other members.
Because in this case, this was an operational decision, not necessarily the board's. And that's the reason why the board wasn't asked to attend that meeting. And we did not do any of the invitation other than the fact that we were asked to be there to address the teachers.
And you can continue to hide behind the operations thing, but the fact of the matter is, on August 7th, when we're here in a meeting, not 1 hour later, breaking news that CFA was not going to move into. I'm sure you knew about it.
I want to make one clarification. At that meeting that we had, if I'm not mistaken, you brought up the question of, is this legal or not, to lease DOE property to CFA?
Yes.
I remember that, Mr. Sablan, and I thought about it. It was a very good question to ask, and none of us at that time was certain, because you brought it up, and I remember I cautioned during that meeting that we cannot proceed unless this question is answered. Because if the law does not allow us to do that, and you said it yourself, we cannot do this.
So I'm asking.
Wait. I said, even though we want to help the students of CFA, and that's why DOE offered to assist them, because they couldn't get help at GCC because of them needing their space. So it was suggested that we ask DOE if they could help because they had some extra space. The superintendent went out of her way with her management team to identify potential space. Somehow, and I don't know why, it turned out to be a big controversy. Like you said, we were not invited by anybody to attend the meeting where the senators spoke up and everybody seemed to be riled up. I was not aware of that until I saw that in the media, right? But I did respect your question on whether or not it would be legal for DOE to even rent space, even in an emergency. Our reaction was, and our decisions was, let's find out. Let's get an opinion.
But
And
my question,
because of that, I think that was the reason that we could not go forward. Because frankly, we need the legislature to make an amendment on the current law that you reminded us about, that gives that authority to a new group, a commission, right?
Correct.
Not to us.
Correct.
And that's why it didn't proceed. However, my understanding, maybe Dr. Wonpak can clarify, is she has been working with the Committee on Education senator to assist us in that regard.
And that's fine. That's fine. That's well and good. But there was a contract signed by the superintendent.
Well, we thought,
Even before I brought this up at the meeting.
well,
And I did warn her that there is a public law.
yeah, that's when that came
I
up.
did.
Yes.
But my question is, in the matter between the ending of our meeting on the 7th and news, who made that decision that CIFA was not going to move in on August
Well,
10th?
I think it was a result of our meeting.
I don't think so.
I do. I think the members here can tell us.
I think
But
it's because
it looked very questionable whether we actually had the legal authority to proceed.
And-
Until we get the legal authority, we could
and
not
so the
proceed.
superintendent is also saying that she knew nothing of Senator Borja's big news item that he has made a deal and CIFA will move into the
I was
unused
surprised.
Chief
Even
Road.
myself, I was
So I was
surprised.
asking, did the superintendent know? Or is this, the senator made that all on his own? I support charter schools, don't get me wrong. They are also public school students. They need to have a place to go. My main concern, as I told Mr. Vela, is I don't want the kids to keep bouncing around. We put them into GW on August 10th. We on August 21st move out because it's the lease agreement illegal. Now we're at them starting yesterday into Brody Elementary School. I haven't seen anything to that story saying that they are going to be moving over there. I've seen nothing happen, but there's still public law 3866 that has to be complied with. I mean, even the superintendent admitted that she's seeking an amendment in the budget bill to allow her to bypass 3860. I don't think it's happened.
And very distinctly, Mr. Sablan, I made it very clear during our meeting that we cannot proceed without legal guidance. I made that very clear.
So the superintendent has to come out
And she can
publicly
tell us right
and
now.
tell, no, she has to come publicly and say, while we want CIFA to have a place to stay, Senator Borja has to understand that we have a process that must be followed, a legal process
I think he
that
knows
must
that.
be
I
followed.
think he knows that.
Well,
He's trying to develop the legislation.
still, the superintendent has to come out and say,
Dr. Wampet, you want to
Senator Borja, we cannot give Chief Brody just like that. We've not to the.
Mr.
It may end up with them, but still, there's a legal process that has to be
Mr.
She
followed.
did that. I think she did that.
You're right, because of the question that you were brought up about the public law, which allows us, yes, to lease decommissioned schools. But at the same time, we had board policy 620, in which then we can rent out classrooms. So we used the board policy while we were waiting for the senator then to be able to make an amendment to the law, because we were trying to figure out other ways other than for us to go and do a real estate property value of our facilities. In the meantime, so naturally we couldn't use Brody or LBJ. We were looking then at renting out classrooms. Board policy that was passed many years ago under Superintendent Fernandez came up. They went through their own AAA process, and came up with $50 per day. We used the board policy then to be able to come up with charging them $1,500 per classroom, which came out to $50 a day times 30 days. And it was only for a certain number of months, while the senator was able to make an amendment, provide an amendment to the budget law, which would allow for the prevailing square footage rate to be able then to lease out the schools. And that's why we didn't use that legislation nor the amendment. As you know, the budget bill was vetoed. That language still remains in the budget law that is now at the governor's office. So yes, the
which is your vehicle to be able to
yes, but
have Chief Brody and any other school decommissioned to be leased.
It was for two. I mean, we were looking at three. We're looking at that bill in the budget. We're looking at the budget law that was passed, that was introduced by Senator San-Agustin, and we were using Board Policy 620. Those were the vehicles that we were looking at. And the one that exists, it's the one that we decided to use because it already has a dollar figure for renting out these facilities. And we use Board Policy 620.
Okay. No communication with either CIFA, the senator, or yourself as to the status of Chief Brody?
Now, yes, I did. When I received a message, exactly what you said, that then there was a discussion between Mr. Rivera and the senator, suggesting, I'm only saying because I'm not part of that conversation. Yes, I was off island, suggesting, recommending, you see, Brody. And that's where the amendment was requested, that in order to do that, then we would need to have that amendment. And because there was so much objection from some of the senators, the threat of being sued, and because of the question that took place here in the board, whether we could legally move forward with it, the decision was made then that not to proceed, to have then CIFA move into GW, and everything was going to go back to normal.
So now our CIFA students are just waiting because we don't know where they're going.
Yes, but at the same time,
and that's my concern.
In our conversation, and so is it. So am I. I'm concerned. There are our children. I don't care whether they're in the Catholic schools, charter schools, or public schools. They are our children. It doesn't matter.
But we have to do it legally. That's what we have to do.
Yes, but that is the reason why the request for the amendment. So the bill passed, the amendment passed, it's intact, and it's at the governor's office. I asked the governor if she has any objection to any of our requests, and she said no. This would take me into the other subject matter that you asked about DOE, accounting office, and our federal programs, grants being transferred. And I asked the governor to please not do that because we don't know what the consequences are. Whether one, we will get our full funding, will monies be able to be pulled out because it now can then be under, the control of the governor should there be any kind of shortfall. I was trying to protect that. The senator supported it, and the governor said it wasn't then a deal breaker at all for her. Okay. So that was removed in
We just want to protect CIFA students to make sure that they don't keep being bounced around.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you.
But it has to be done legally so that they don't get thrown out of a school because us adults are just rushing things without following the law. That's my point.
And that's what I'm telling you. Please know that we are using Board Policy 620. And such time until the governor signs it, then we would go beyond months, whatever it is, to negotiate now a different rate. But for the time being, we can use the vehicle that we have.
Well, I'm not a legal person, and we do have one here, but Public Law 3366 was passed in November of 2025. It specifically says in its intent the use of unused classrooms brought about that law. And so if you're saying that board policy can still take place without adhering to public law, I think we're wrong because public law you trump public law.
But Senator, law required to do the AAA process, which was done many years ago with, like I said, under the direction of Mr. Fernandez.
Okay.
The only thing that the committee recommended is that we stay with that dollar amount. We don't make any changes because we would have to go out again and change that dollar amount. So we kept that dollar amount as it is in the board policy.
Yes, and that's why you asked for that amendment in the budget bill.
Yes.
Hopefully, something happens, because I don't know how long more CFA students are going to be out of the classroom.
And
I don't.
I would have you know is that I've been working with our legal counsel on the MOA to really make sure, yes, that everything we do would be in accordance not just with our board policy, but even with the language that is in the budget law that the governor right now is saying she has no qualms at all with it. And that she's not going, we're hoping she's not going to veto it because they have a veto-proof vote. And the next question that you have. You had a long list.
I did have a long list. You spoke about the budget and the amendment.
So all the things that we requested, yes, from the governor went through.
The Tizen and Simon Sanchez traffic and the bus dilemma.
Yes.
I mean, I know bus is not under your purview. We have to practically work at their mercy, because if we don't have the drivers and we don't have the buses, what are we going to do?
So
I'm sure, as you know,
so there were
DFAS is working with them.
So several requests came in from the two principals. One was to move the sentry post that we have here at the entrance where Tijan is as you come in.
That's going on right now.
No, that one was removed.
Yeah.
The other one where the tri-intersection
That's
is,
going on
they
right
are
now.
now smoothing out the area to
The bulldozer's up there.
hopefully get it ready to open so that we would have an entrance and exit and to lower the congestion. According again also to Mr. Vince Ariola, that they are working on another area which is closer to the post office. That would take a little bit longer because apparently there's a fuel line, the Navy fuel line beneath, that they're going to need to be able to provide a stronger pathway to support then vehicles and buses to come through. But they are aware of that and are asking us and telling us basically that is something they want to do in hopefully a couple of weeks. Now, in terms of the buses picking up the children after school hours, they indicated that it was much easier, yes, during the double session because they are able to have the same bus drivers going in the morning and then same bus drivers go in the afternoon. They were able to do that even with the shortage of drivers and buses. So they're asking this, allow them, because this is a new route for them, to give them some time to work out the kinks and the schedule. They still have to deal with some shortages of bus drivers and buses. And you're right, that is not our control. And if I can take on and discuss another thing that came on the media the other day, was where the bus driver I know had dropped off some students at the bottom of a hill, and I think it's Afami, and the bus could not take the children up to the hill, and asked some of our children to step out and walk up there, and he was able to drive up, pick up the kids, and then of course deliver them to their bus stops. And that's a bus issue, I realize that, but we are also trying to figure out how could we have helped. And I know a conversation was asked, could we have used our bus drivers on our buses? The only problem is that they are special needs buses. They are retrofitted for wheelchairs, and other things that for children with a disability, versus even having enough space to much less carry 18 students or more in a bus.
Are we looking to alleviate this bus problem at adjusting bail schedules?
So what it is that the conversation that we're having with them is that possibility, whether we need to do that. We don't have a definite time because they want to work out the kinks first before we do this.
Because I understand JFK still starts the same time when they had the double session.
Oh, same time as our kids here?
No, the same time that when they had double session, JFK still has the same time.
Yeah, but they do have still the same time, but our kids weren't, the Sanchez kids weren't coming until the afternoon. So
But
in the
what
morning.
I'm saying is that now that it's only JFK at that school,
Yeah, but it's
why
still-
are they starting at the same time that god awful time in the morning?
Well, I don't know how to schedule bus.
No,
Yeah, buses.
our bell schedule.
Oh, our barrel schedule, but that was at the request of the school principals about their starting time. The only difference in Simon Sanchez and Tijan was a short delivery time. They didn't want all the children to come in and dropped off at the same time. So that's why they asked for that slight staggered bell schedule. But other,
start at 5:30 in the morning.
yes, yeah.
Why
So
are
we're,
they still starting at 5:30 when there's no other school to
you
come
know,
in?
you're right. I've always been asking that question in terms, and I think we know that teachers want the schools to start, they like to start early. And one of the justifications is that because they want the children out early so that they can go and work. That was one conversation that I've heard for having to start early. But if that's not going to be an issue, Jackie, then that, we can actually have that conversation with DPW.
They had that time before. Why would
So-
it be an issue now?
So JFK starting.
Same thing here, Tijan and Simon Sanchez. Because of the bus schedules and because of the heavy traffic, maybe we should think about starting one school later than the other, so that buses and traffic and parents don't all converge in this location at one time. That's
Yeah.
Good point.
just a
No,
recommendation.
that's actually a good recommendation. So we'll have that conversation with DPW.
And then the classrooms at Gura.
Okay, I spoke with the deputy director of Gura to really get an understanding about those two classrooms that were built with federal dollars. And he informed me that, oh, wait, no, you're talking about the two.
The Gura apartments,
Oh, that one. Okay, I thought you were talking about.
we can't
the-
make it into classrooms because it's not zoned for a school, is that
Okay,
what I
so-
understand?
Yeah, so yes, that was a request also. I had requested Senator Muñoz Barnes to include that amendment in the budget law.
But it failed.
To allow for, they kept the same language for Guam Housing Corporation, but they added schools to it. So that was the only change that was submitted in budget, because the original budget, the original legislation, the bill that was introduced was never entertained and passed. So she took the same language from that bill and offered it and put it in the budget law.
My understanding is that amendment failed, so how do we move forward?
That's not what I heard. I heard it all passed.
So it's in the bill before the governor now.
You need to just clarify that. I think
right.
the amendment failed before they even approved the budget.
That's not what the senator told me, but I would ask Senator Barnes about that.
Like they say, don't always trust everything you read in the media.
Thank you. Thank you. That is so true. And I'd just like to say, if I may, and I'm sorry it started out kind of heated at the very beginning when you say photos were being sent. Because I asked the principal about the photos that were sent. And the principal said that mound of termites weren't even termites. It was an anthill. And it wasn't in any of the classrooms or the restroom. It was in the staff's office. But they had addressed it weeks before.
You know how perception is.
Okay, yes, you're right. But unfortunately, the photo was taken and it was sent. Then the other thing about sewage, it wasn't even sewage, it was water leaking. So but those are these things that, Simon Sanchez, when they sent a photo of a rat that was in the classroom, that photo was 1 year old, but yet, like you said, the perception when it is posted, and people believe it as if though it occurred just yesterday. And it's so unfortunate because here we are, like all of you, we all want to open our schools. We want our children to be in a healthy, safe environment. That's all we want. But it's unfortunate sometimes, and yes, it may be because we're not, people are sending photos, people are calling in about some things that are just not true. And yes, public health would always respond. Like you said, we might have a situation at Southern High School. We found out Friday morning when we were working with Fortec and the attorneys that our office got a call about an anonymous caller to public health. So they had to make an unscheduled, unannounced, visit. And I mean, whether protocol was followed or not, I know there are some individuals out there really trying to help us. But at the same time, we have those who just want to sensationalize everything and make the department look bad. It's so unfortunate.
So no results yet from Southern High?
For which one?
Southern High, no results yet from the inspection?
No, apparently, I just found this out this morning. I didn't realize it at 6 a.m. that the Admiral and his team had visited the campus at 4 p.m. And 4 p.m. I was in a meeting with my deputies. Nobody called us. The principal didn't call. The assistant principal didn't call. We didn't know about it, like I said, until this morning at 6 a.m. when I got a message from Senator Boer asking me if my people were there. And I said, for what? And he said, well, apparently the military was present. And just to give you an update, is that we are going to meet tomorrow so that we can have this conversation, you see, with the Admiral. And I've asked to bring our Deputy for Assessment and Accountability and F&M as well, I guess, to share this. And I'll also let you know that Dr. Guthertz and I, when we were invited to meet with the CODEL, they wanted to know what are some of the things we were concerned about. And she would vouch is that one, my ask was basically about how old our school facilities are, that whatever new schools we have were built by local dollars, and those prior to that were built by the military or federal dollars, and we was appealing to them, to assist in any way financially for us to replace many of our old school buildings. So she asked me to send her, one of the Congress woman asked me to send her then some of the information about the status of our schools. So the appeal has been that, and I want you to know as well, and that when we submitted our budget, and Mr. Fedenko, when I met with him also, when I shared with him our request, our ask in our budget, was to put in, because yes, our top priority was to take care of all of our personnel. In addition, we wanted to address all the CBA positions. And then the third was all of what we call non-negotiable items like utilities and the contracts that we have. So it wasn't, a wish list. It was what we said were non-negotiable items and totally based on mandates by the legislature.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Yes.
Madam Chair, I know that Vice Mayor Blas wanted to ask question on the superintendent's report. Is he here? He left?
I can meet with him later then.
When Mr. Sablan mentioned about the August 7 meeting, and then the chair said we needed legal. Superintendent, there was no legal present for the board on August 7. You have 3 legal people, so I suggest that every meeting you assign them, because they did a roll call, but that legal wasn't present. And I can see where Mr. Sablan is coming from. And sometimes when I bring issues like this, he gets on me, but SOP 170006, That should be the Bible of the readiness for the school. Because a lot of this on this SOP, and that's why I know when we got this document, I wasn't satisfied on the 2 meetings because I know it's not accurate. I've been to the schools. I've been to every school's restroom, cafeteria. Because if there's one thing at the school that should always be clean, it's the restrooms and the cafeteria. Because our kids, that's where they go. This thing about, oh, because it's aircon, now the kids don't want to go out of the classroom. Maybe I'm out of the cafeteria, the restroom. Then the school should find something to keep those kids occupied during recess because they have nothing to do. Some schools do it. They got volleyball, soccer ball, all kinds. So they need to be innovative. I too would like to know about the Simon Sanchez. I had grands. I had a great grand. I had a granddaughter-in-law. Thank God my granddaughter is not here in Simon Sanchez. Go to the bus, the lateness of the bus. It's not only Southern, the students from the Simon Sanchez that get so late. And if many of us don't know JIGO, and because you're from the Centro or from the South, then I invite you, and I know Mayor Lizama will invite you, go up to Santa Rosa Mountain subdivision and see. Would you have your child, your daughters especially, walk like 6 o'clock in the evening home because the bus came late? This bus situation is not new. Even last school year, Agida Johnston, even this school year, that's why I asked at the Finance Committee meeting, are these school-aides that stays beyond their working hours, are they gonna get paid overtime? Because the bus is late. Is it the fault of the employees? No. And when we have these kids that are riding the bus, like Pago Bay, they live way inside, not in any of the beautiful houses. They stay inside the family compound, family residential. And 6 o'clock, that's the time they reach home and the school is over at 3. That's why I can go on. And then this thing about the Tizan and the Simon Sanchez. I received a comment from a parent, are they going to prepare grab and go? I said, I don't know. All I know that the school was shut down. That's why I asked for the demerits, the listing of the demerits. I want to commend the the Food and Nutrition Administrator, Sean Manforti, because I was listening to Kandit News. And he must be listening, and he said, meals will be at Jigo Mayor's, at Jigo Gym and Barrigada Gym. Why was there no press release from this department, from your office superintendent, where parents don't know? Then teacher were told, you have to come tomorrow to central office and Xerox all the handout, the handout. Enough laptop? Oh my goodness, really? Where's the inventory of their laptop? These are things that the stakeholders needs to know. So I want to find out, because it looks like it's last minute that does grab and go. So the mayor of Barrigada and the mayor of Jigo have to go make sure that their staff is at the gym to help out for the grab and go. That's another extra work for them. Maybe we should ask them how many staff do they have, because I'll tell you, maybe they only had 5. Communication to the stakeholders is very important. Yes, it's operational, but if they start calling me, I will tell them. I am elected. And I want those people that voted for me, and even those that didn't vote for me, even those that don't like me, to know what's going on. Like Mr. Sablan, transparency. Yes. They call the board dummies. I'm not dummy. I know what I'm saying, what I'm doing. But can I help it when the public feels like that? And when was the mayor of Jigo and the mayor of Bargada informed that they're going to use their gym for the grab and go? Because DOE did not put out press release or in their Facebook until the next day. So parents that don't have transportation from Simon Sanchez to go over to the Jigo mayor office. We have parents in the Gil subdivision, in the Hemlaoni apartment, that some of them don't have cars to go and pick up the meals. We need to start a better communication, because this is what is the problem here. And this is exactly why I asked for the August 7 special meeting, because I know that the readiness report that every principal signed, "Are you ready to open?" is not true. Because restrooms that are not fixed, covered, the sink covered, and I go back again, covered with a trash bag, no toilet seat. If I was a parent at Wedding Yell, I demand that action be, and I need demand a response. But lucky that we had a primary election, and I commend that voter for taking that picture and posting it, because that is very embarrassing. I bet you maybe they call the mayors again to pull up the Duck 10. Superintendent, in your report strategic plan, is the strategic plan included the stakeholders, the mayors, to be part? Because that's what we did when we started this strategic plan. We had the committees are set up with stakeholders and mayors. And if it's just your people, what, after the fact that they're going to go out and do a presentation? No. From day one, you need to hear from the Mr. Torres is a parent rep, and I suggest that Mr. Torres be given a listing of all the schools that have PTOs, and have a PTO meet, let them be involved, because they are. If it's not for them, nobody here has a job. I as much as I just want to stay back, but no. The next one, where it says 100% ready, I got a message from a parent, 37 unit at Ukudu High School, home of the Bulldogs, no air conditioning. This is a lease school. This is a lease school. What is going on with the landlord? We have a warehouse in PD, ladies and gentlemen, with a lot of air conditioning. We are finally going to be, receiving the OPA's audit on air conditioning. There's a lot of air conditioning on there. So Ukudu doesn't have don't have windows to open. What's happening? This is a lease school, just like the grass cutting.
Okay.
So I just want to share that. So because we really want to go into executive session, that I request that we have a special meeting before our regular meeting on September 15, because we need a follow-up on all those positions that have not been filled at the school, the conditions of the school. Because the public now are waiting for response. And what is the status of the Simon Sanchez and the Tizan High School? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you
So,
very much,
may
Ms.
I
Gutierrez.
respond?
Yes, Jean.
Thank you very much. When we learned, of course, that the schools were closed on Thursday, then on Friday, immediately, yes, we asked Sean about the food, and Sean needed to make sure that we are able to follow federal regulations first, because it was different with COVID when they were able to then provide food. It was different also for the other incident of the typhoon. That was an emergency, so we were able to then have food prepared and have them picked up in the different sites. So Sean and his team were working diligently to, first of all, make sure we were in compliance. Secondly, they were also they needed to find locations, and that's why GIGO was recommended. The principal, Carla, also spoke to the mayor to ask if they could use her facility. And what she also did is she did send out her community aides and her staff to assist, and the mayor's staff also assisted to distribute, but our staff went. As soon as we knew then about the grab and go, then our PIO was able to, within the 12-hour time of the shutdown, to post it in all of our media. And then, so that went out immediately. And there is a format or an ad that you basically could have seen, that you can see on social media, that it was sent out and delivered to everyone. Now, granted, not everybody is on Facebook, but we tried to get as much information as we can to the people. And based on looking at the data in which how many people have really viewed it to see about the grab and go, is that approximately 20,000 people have actually seen the post, on that day before the pickup. So there are those who, maybe they're not all the ones who needed to know about it, but definitely the department was looking at various ways to go out and let the people know. As a matter of fact, some of our social workers have also, they can identify the students that they know who do not have transportation and know the families that they too are willing to take some of the food to deliver. So we're definitely trying to reach as many of our school children as possible to not only give them the work that they need, but to also give them food. On the strategic plan, my understanding is that yes, it's not just all DOE people. There are other members who I can ask that Dr. Julie provide for you the list of the individuals, so then you will know who are part of that steering committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wonpak.
Does the closure of Tizan and Simon Sanchez going to affect their 180-day schedule?
So we spoke with the senator, as a matter of fact, on that particular day. And we decided it'd be too soon to do that. We can actually do that once we know where we're at, and because we're not at the end of the year where we say we need to ask for the waiver like we did for the typhoon. So we still have some time. However, this is what we also decided, is that because, yes, they're closed, at the same time, all of our teachers are working. They are on Google Classrooms. They are, working with the students. So therefore, it is still considered an instructional time for the students, unless, of course, that there's just no way for them to provide any lessons. Then that would mean then we would have to request for a waiver. But as of now, as of today, we don't.
So it just depends really on how long Cortec or even our people complete all these mitigation that on the demerits, and when public health passes the school.
Well, according to, we had an agreement and at least with the Cortex side, we're looking at no more than 10 days, for them to do the work. We were informed by public health because it is a closure, that when they go back in, it's zero. We're going to have to start at zero, just the way we did with FB Leon Royal Middle School. And that's the reason why we did that clarification, because we want to make sure that whatever the demerits are, we will definitely, address. And that conversation took place yesterday.
We have to start thinking out of the box, because if it's going to take more than 1 week, like you requested, it may take 2 weeks, it may take a month. Have we looked at trying to ask Cortec to work 24 hours while the school is closed? 24 hours
24
to
hour
repair.
Well,
even our people, pay them overtime to work overtime.
Well, he did say that if he has to mobilize 300 men, he said he will. And what he did is that he mobilized, I think, 125. So they're all, working at all the areas that they identified was their responsibilities. Our guys are working on what, we feel.
But it's still just an 8-10 hour day, or are we trying to?
No, they're not, no. We're working Saturdays and Sundays over the weekend.
I'm just saying to move up the repair so we can get the kids back in classrooms as soon as we can. Yes, would be something we should look at.
We did stress the urgency because we feel that you cannot put a dollar price on the loss of instruction.
Correct.
And that's what the urgency is.
And then one more thing, you brought up there was a concern brought in by some, I don't know if it's teachers or staff, that because of the schedule that the board approved on opening and closing the school year, some of them were shorted 3-4 days of pay. Is that something that the union looked at?
No, so because...
Yeah, I'm saying, were there complaints filed with you?
Yes, and my understanding, of course, and I heard that because even when I worked, I remember my first year when I worked, and they told me the same thing, is that we weren't going to be paid, I wasn't going to be paid like the first 2 weeks, going to be the next pay period, and then there's a catch-up at the end of the year, so there will be no loss of salary or anything. It's just the distribution because of the start time and end time.
So they understand that, because some of them, the way they related to us is that they lost the pay.
So we'll DFAS.
For the next 5 years.
So we want,
The schedule.
Your schedule? The one that you agreed on?
You made a 5-year calendar that pushes the calendar back a couple days every year. So yes, you're going to get these questions for the next 5 years.
But they get it at the end, is what you're saying.
Okay.
As long as,
yes, there will be no loss.
Maybe you should also, again, relay that to them.
We'll ask maybe for a DFAS to see if we can put out a, notice, and we'll send the letters out to the teachers and let everybody know.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, would it be possible now, knowing that there is a possibility of the school not being able to open in 10 days, can we start being a little bit more proactive and think about how can we not depend too much on the asynchronous learning platform? I think first and foremost, I do feel for our Sanchez students, not just because it's my children there, but there are the concerns that they're being given packets, and the packets may not be sufficient for all the students to be able to understand what's going on and true learning to be taking place. So if possible, if we could start looking at what would be our plan B, our plan C, our plan D, and I'm not asking for it today, but as we are getting closer to the 10-day reinspection, can we have something in place so that it could actually be addressed quicker, and that parents can be made informed, teachers can be informed, so that whatever transition is needed can be done a lot smoother? If I can just ask for that.
Yes, and that was actually discussed on Friday. You were present, Mr. Fedenko was present, and the two school principals at the very end after legal left. And there were so many options that were thrown out, and I'll just go ahead and share with you some of the suggestions. One of them that the principals said technically is that, and they have all the data, and one of them would be to redistrict all of the children and populate all of our high schools, and the numbers would be 1,900 students per high school if we did an island-wide redistricting of our high school. That was one option. The other, yeah, for all the high schools. The other option was to consider then as, let me see, what is the other option? Oh, well, one is redistricting. The other would be, yes, go back to double session. And Mr. Fedenko, you mentioned one. Do you know what that was?
Well, it was, keep going, you're doing it right. Look, he's right. Asynchronous doesn't work. Teachers don't want it, parents don't want it, right? And the way I'm reading this, they're lawyering up right now about who's responsible for who. Well, lawyers take a long time. So we need to see, you board members, us board members, if I include myself, need to look at when this is going to be done. We're hoping 10 days, right? That's as far as you really want to carry asynchronous learning. We know that there's not enough computers, because that was discussed, that they couldn't get them out for whatever reason, so that asynchronous is not being done to its COVID level. But you got to react and get kids in the schools. So as the superintendent explained, you can redistrict, put everybody into the schools, they all fit. You could do a double session, Tiedzin and GW was the one, right? And then it was Simon and Ukudu, right? Because FBL's gone from there. And it would bring them back up to the North District, right? And that were the only, or otherwise continuous I think the third option is to continue asynchronous learning.
And again, just to comment, I believe that in the discussion that we were originally looking at, and just the thoughts in going through it, is that some instruction will be lost with double sessions, although I think more learning will take place compared to asynchronous education. So I think, again, we're looking at our children as being the ones that are suffering right now. We got to think about how to get it so that they can transition quickly in the event that we are not able to reopen with the zero demerits come 10 days from, and I'm not sure how that works. Is it calendar day, weekday, or so on? Right? Because I mean, if it is 10 days, then we're looking at Monday of next week.
Yes, and the principal, suggested as well is that, we bring all, oh, you want to turn that off just in case, bring all the other high school principals, together to look at, the different options and present to the board.
Dr. Okada?
So there's a couple things we need to look at, because all of the schools are going to be coming up for inspection at some point. We need to take a look at all of the schools that have contracts under lease schools and do the matrix now. Don't wait for an issue to come up. Do the matrix now as to what is our responsibility and what is the landlord responsibility, and start working on those components. The second thing is, are any of these demerits things that we can request for a temporary variance so that we have more time to do it? The variants are issued for certain things, like, for example, and the walls and ceilings not in a flat surface. Okay, but that's not a health and safety issue. Can we get a variance on that temporarily to give us a little bit more time so that we're not constrained by this 10 days? Then we need to look at Southern, for example, because if Southern's issue is that we have not addressed the variances associated with the last inspection, is there something that we can do so that the variances are given a little bit more time? And if there's a funding issue, then we would expect, the board would expect, that if it is necessary, that that a spend plan is updated so that you are within the authority that the board has approved the budget. Because there were two spend plans that we did. One was for the 26 million that became 9 or 8 million, and then the other is the 52 million that is still looming out there that I know that we're using, but we need the spend plan to be updated. Now, it's unfortunate that when we had a windfall of money, that the focus was only on 12 schools instead of all 39, 40 schools. We couldn't control that. They were federal funds. It was done, presented to the board, but it wasn't under our authority to approve it. But we need to take a look at those two spend plans and tell us where we are today with those spend plans, what money do we have available, and then come up with a longer term plan. We got that, that evaluation or assessment report 4-5 years ago from HFM, and it had a dollar figure of 200+ million. Okay, so what has happened from them? And incrementally start prioritizing this based on the public health inspections. Prioritize that document and present it to the legislature on a recurring basis until we get caught up, because by the time you get caught up, we got to start all over again, because there's no way to fund all of it unless there's a funding mechanism to provide a cash infusion to repair all of the schools at some point. I mean, so these are all part of the strategy that we need to put in place so that we're not left hanging a week or 5 days out from making a determination as what is plan B. We need to start thinking now, if we can't open next week, what are we going to do to address learning loss? Somebody should be snapping it up now to address learning loss. And how are we going to pay for it? Or how are we going to provide the additional material? Don't wait until the end of the year and says, oh, we made the 180 days, but we still have instructional loss, and we're just going to go ask for a waiver. No, it's only August. Figure out what that makeup time is going to be now. You have time to plan it through now. So these are things that need to be, in my mind, what they call the continuity of operations plan for any infraction that may occur during the school year, that we provide some flexibility somewhere to do something. But you got to have it on our radar, because we're not thinking about it. But if you put the playbook together, then there should be no reason why we can't go to that as a reference point and update it when we need to extract from it. So this is all part of a planning process, but I think we need to start documenting again because remember, those schools that are currently on a lease, their lease expires, that lease agreement is up in 2027. What is it going to look like, and what repairs do we have to make, or what's going to happen? Don't just let time pass by, and then after the lease expires, it says, oh, but now we need to do A, B, and C. We need to get money for this. We need to have a plan all laid out. The other thing is, and I recognize that if the amendment exists in the current budget bill, it is dependent upon the governor signing the budget bill in order for us to execute what is necessary for Chief Brody. However, the request that was made was for 4 months. What happens after the 4 months? If it is longer than 4 months, and I can tell you, in 4 months, they're going to say, in the best interest of the students of the academic year, let's just wait till the end of the academic year. Don't bring that to us in January. Have that discussion before we move forward with it. And then secondly, if it is longer than the academic year, because there are other people looking for schools, what procurement process are we going to employ so that there is competitiveness in identifying the use of Chief Brody or any other facility? We're addressing it right now as an emergency, but we still have to follow a procurement process at some point.
Or do we need to use the space ourselves for Simon Sanchez and teach it?
It's an elementary school,
I know.
and we've actually visited at least one of them, and it's in a very bad shape.
But we also need,
Brody is better.
but we also need to consider that because these things are occurring, things are happening on a recurring basis, that we always probably have
We need a
one
backup
school
space.
or a backup space that we can default
That's
to,
right.
similar to what Tizen was supposed to be used for
Entourage.
to begin with a long time ago. So we need to
JFK,
take a
then
look at all
Entourage.
of this again, because the options you're providing are things that we should consider, but what do we do and how do we consider it long-term?
If we're gonna fix Tejan, then maybe it should be the backup school for all the renovations, or we can move a school to while their school's being renovated, one at a time. That's a possibility too, because that's what it was at first.
Yeah, but,
For
I mean, you're
JFK
right,
and
that,
Entourage.
that was the original plan. But after that, I mean, if we're gonna use it for a backup school, we can't keep that school open and the facility open and not be used. That's the only problem.
Dr. McNinch,
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Just two quick points. I think long-term and short-term. In the long term, probably in the next several months, I think that the government in general should look at totally reorganizing education in general from all aspects. And there's quite a number of bits of that, including all of these space and facility issues. It's not just a GDOE issue, it's an issue for a lot of other systems. The second thing is there may be space at UOG for at least temporary spacing, and I think that we should exercise the Joint Education Board 17 GCA 16A discussion and see if there's available spaces that we can at
I
least
don't see a space there.
in the short term, well, I'm just saying in the short term, ask them, because there might be spaces that we don't know about or particular flexibilities we don't know about. My point is our education systems don't work very well together, and I think we can certainly do better at that. Thank you.
Well, right now, we have some very good points that were brought up today, everyone. Not easy, but we have to move forward. And so the plan, as I understand it right now, is the attorneys are meeting when? Tomorrow morning. And I did suggest that we should probably have the Attorney General also involved at this point, because frankly, I was quite shocked at the meeting. I think you left, right, Angel?
I had to.
When we found out that there's a nonprofit that took over the contract from Cortec called Phoenix something, I don't know, Phoenix. And apparently they're the contractee with the government of Guam. And this was done 6 years ago. Apparently, that's what Mr. Ho said during the meeting. And we were all very shocked by that. He did say that his company receives, was it $40,000 a month to maintain Tejan? Something like that, from the nonprofit. And he's losing money doing it, he said. But that's where it ended. But we were all shocked because no one knew of that nonprofit taking over the Cortec control of the lease. And of course, the question is, where does that leave us then? Because what he said was, we really are not responsible for maintaining Tejan anymore. It was
I want
turned
to
over the nonprofit.
clarify something. I'm not sure why Dr. Guthertz was not aware of the contract between the government of Guam and Phoenix IDA and Cortec, where GDOE, the agency she's responsible for, is the tenant or the beneficiary of that contract or that lease agreement. But Phoenix IDA has, from almost the beginning of this thing, held that contract. This is not news. This is not something that's new. This is not something that all of a sudden GDOE should have just found out about and why Judy Wonpat or any of the deputies, who are all very highly paid, don't know the answer to this is very concerning. But also that the chairwoman of the Board of Education is telling the rest of the board members that this is somehow something new, as though that there was some scandal behind it, is absolutely false information that's being purported.
Profit 6 years ago. That's what he said. Am I right?
Yes.
And so that's when we said the attorneys have to meet here now and figure this out. Well, possibly, but then Dr. Wonpat was searching for the contract, this new contract. Did we actually get the new contract, Judy?
The only amendment that I received from Gita is the change from Cortec to Phoenix, but the original contract hasn't changed. So yes, and so the question was asked, as a matter of fact, whether, because it was first signed by the governor, the previous governor, and whether the governor herself and her people should be in this meeting. But the response has been that by law, the Organic Act, and by the local law, is that it's the government's responsibility. So it was pushed back to the legislature.
I know this is all kind of funny to me.
Madam Chair.
I don't like what I'm hearing.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
When DOE moved up here from Aganya, I was a board member. The contract was not with DOE. The contract was not even shown to the board because it's with the administration.
The government of Guam.
So we didn't see anything in that contract other than one meeting. We were given a copy of a MOU between GACS and the board to sign. And as a chair there, I refused because we have nothing to do with the facility that GACS was occupying. But as far as the board, on my recollection, is we have never been provided a copy of the contract. If that contract is strictly with the administration or GIDA, and that's it.
Well, the reason thank you. The reason I bring this up is because the legal meeting, of course, we have one of our attorneys here, which is great. I have to see Mr. Moylan there. I'm not going to be at that meeting, but I think Mr. Moylan should be there to protect the interests of the people of Guam. Whatever change occurred, how does that affect DOE, the tax dollars of the people of Guam? And was this registered with revenue taxation, this nonprofit for this purpose? Was it registered? I looked for the names. I didn't see any name. I looked at the nonprofit list with revenue tax. It's not there.
I think
It's
there
not there.
is that Phoenix.
So what is this can you do that without registering the nonprofit? I don't know, but something's not right.
Just one more thing. I mean, I know we're all trying to think about options. She mentioned redistricting, mentioned double sessions again. Oh God, awful word. And you've met with the military. Is it CODEL?
Yes.
Yeah, it was for
education. I'm going to use Trump's word, big, beautiful bill. I'm going to add ding behind it. Big, beautiful building that's sitting right there on Camp Bloss Street for the Marines. And we never are going to know when they're going to occupy that.
The Army's using it now.
Not the entire place. I mean, maybe there's an outside chance that they would allow us to use part of it to house Simon Sanchez until we get that building done. Yeah. It's not going to hurt to ask. Since you're already asking and giving options, maybe the governor or to ask that if they're not coming here till 2030 or whatever year they're coming, they've always kept extending, and they keep building, and building. Allow us to use it if we can. If they're really for the children of Guam, Why not? Now, I'm just putting it out there that maybe that's an option that we can put on the table.
So we can ask the superintendent to draft a resolution from the board to the admiral making the request.
We don't even have to wait for a resolution. We can ask the superintendent to make that letter now.
She can call up, but we can follow it up with a resolution.
Oh, okay, just before, following Angel's thought.
You're gonna meet with the
Maybe
admiral?
what we can do is talk,
You can meet with him
talk to
tomorrow.
them first, one-to-one,
Yeah, talk to him.
and then just tell them, we're just waiting for Simon Sanchez to be completed and occupied, and we're out of there. You just gotta tell them a time frame. They might, you never know.
All right, so you saw that how the only board members who were trying to hold Judy Wampat accountable for the messes that had been created, and it's not even all of them, it's just the most recent ones, the Teedson and Simon Sanchez High School, plus the CIFA issue, and perhaps even an issue with Southern High School where Angel Sablan and Maria Gutierrez, and then you saw Mary Okada jump in trying to, at the very least, demand details on what is the plan moving forward, like how are we going to address some of the issues, right? And so you saw semblances of attitudes of accountability coming from 3 board members. I very disappointing that the chairwoman of the board came to the defense of Judy Wampat. I don't know. So the board recessed shortly after this, right? Did I pause? Yeah. The board recessed a little bit after this, and they're recessed until next Monday. And I believe once they get to next Monday, they're going to go into executive session and they're going to conduct their evaluation of the superintendent. That could either lead to some sort of an increment or pay raise again, or it could lead to something else. I don't know. But I think it's very important that as a community, especially for the stakeholders of GDOE, that they become a little bit louder about what they expect board members to do, because we're the bosses of the board members. There's no one above the board members. Most of them are elected. And so it's important that the board members hear what we, the public, have to say. And that's the only way that anything is going to be done to hold Judy Wampat and her team accountable, because as you saw throughout that entire thing, she took no responsibility whatsoever for all of the fires that she started, and began to complain about everybody else and how difficult everything was in order to put these fires out, as though she's some sort of hero in this, like she's the firefighter in it. Never mind that she was the fire starter. It's really incredible. When we come back from the other side of the commercial break, I'm just going to show you a video from Congressman Moylan's office that shows that they were talking about that CODEL. You heard that? There was a greater discussion that was held during this CODEL, and it's a pretty cool video. It's what I want to show you to end this show. Stick with us. The stuff's hitting the spot.
James, thanks for bringing us. What a great opportunity to see in a quick fashion Guam. This is a bipartisan CODEL, Congressional delegation trip. I believe only 2 of us in this delegation have ever been.
Sorry, let me restart that. Stand by.
What a great opportunity to see in a quick fashion Guam. This is a bipartisan CODEL, Congressional delegation trip. I believe only 2 of us in this delegation have ever been to Guam.
It's equally important that our colleagues in Congress have this opportunity to come to Guam and see our community firsthand. And so your experience and your challenges and your ideas will help guide the work we do.
But I think the key purpose is to provide individuals with the ability to work, to make sure the provision is there for their family. If I've heard Jones Act once, I've heard it a million times.
No matter what the topic is, what the bill is, if we have a committee meeting, Guam will come up. And now that we've done our little flight over, I've fallen in love with Guam. Education workforce is our national security, and you guys are obviously part of that too.
I served on a school board for 20 years before coming to Congress, and so I'm very much looking forward to this opportunity to talk about education.
I was educated very well by Congresswoman Madeline Badallo, one of my best friends. And so, it's amazing that Congressman Tim Moylan is actually filling the high heels, filling the shoes well.
And I think we need to really open up that competitiveness to get you back to your over 1 million tourist numbers that you were at before. I think when we get back to DC, I'm going to talk to James a lot about that. I want to work on that because we need that 500,000 people back on here. So thank you for having us.
And one of those issues that came up was the ship repair facility. So I hope that perhaps one day we'll be able to see that come to fruition again.
My ask is support from you guys in the military. Our system is overwhelmed right now because of the typhoon, and any support that we can get from you guys we would be grateful.
And I've also had this discussion with the congressman as well as his staff about possibly increasing the CCDF funding. Military dependents, they get an allotment of $2,000 per child, whereas outside the fence, our local families get $700 a month. Childcare, if we want our people to succeed, if we want them to be a part of the workforce, they need to have this assistance.
So we're very excited to work with you and to work with the University of Guam and the entire education system on our island to provide opportunities.
Everything we do is based on data. So we would love to have an opportunity to be included in these initial assessments that relate to both education as well as workforce. And we're just excited to see that all of you are here.
With your position on Capitol Hill, and perhaps we can have a concerted effort to make proposals to these philanthropists, and maybe we can attract dollars to the university.
And if we could even look at increasing federal work-study allocation, and I understand that this is a policy issue, not a funding issue, this could make a huge difference in the graduation rate in Guam.
We need federal programs, resources, and flexibility that recognizes the cost, the distance, the workforce constraints, disaster exposure, and national responsibility of this island.
I feel as an educator that it's most beneficial for our children to be under one school system. Your children travel, the military kids travel all over the world, and they would benefit coming out to the community. Our children who've never left the island would also benefit by interacting and playing with students in the military. And I think that that is really critical.
And if we had mechanical engineers here on the island that could build their own little businesses fixing elevators, that would solve so many more problems to build resiliency in this island.
Guam's greatest resource has always been her people. If we give our people the training, tools, and opportunities to succeed, we strengthen not only our tourism industry, but the economic future of our entire island.
So I'm asking again the members of Congress to take serious consideration to the islands, or to the territories, in regards to broad strokes, in regards to federal policies.
We need to get control of our own H-2B program, let the governor certify temporary, and let us bring in what we need. Nobody wants to have foreign laborers take over our industry or take over our workforce. I just need them to come in so that I can train our people into those existing jobs through apprenticeship and take over those needs.
If 6,000 are H-2 workers, who are the rest? They are the local workforce that we have been training. We thank you so very much for the attention that you've done here, and taking the time to come to Guam and see what we're doing over here. I'm not going to ask you for resources. All I'm saying is, if you like what we're doing, help us.